Thank you very much. And like has been stated, my name is Mwaula Solopi. I'm the director for ICT at the National Assembly of Zambia. And I'll be making a presentation on the digital transformation process for the Zambian Parliament, of how we've been able to transition and get to this particular point. So to begin my presentation, I'll begin that this transformational process actually began at some time in 2004, not too long ago for the Parliament of Zambia, in terms of us being able to enhance some advancements in technology. And this was at this particular point where the ICT department during this period was actually set up for the National Assembly of Zambia in order to be able to spearhead these developments that were planned for the National Assembly. In order for this to be actualized, initially there are certain activities that required to be done. And in the process of trying to do that, management at that particular point decided to partner with other stakeholders to develop a document that will act like a guide to how we were going to implement this digital transformation for the Parliament of Zambia. And so in 2009, a document was basically developed, which was called the ICT Master Plan, which had a period which was supposed to run for a period from 2010 to 2015. This document was to guide the development or the adoption of ICTs for the Parliament of Zambia. In its implementation, this document was able to score certain notable achievements. And part of the achievements that were noted is that there were different advancements in the equipment that was basically installed within the chamber. In the chamber, we managed to upgrade equipment to the level of even having a multimedia system that could actually be used using this same implementation plan. The second one that was there was that we managed to expand the coverage of Parliament radio. As you would note, Zambia is a developing country, and it being a developing country simply means that not a lot of people have access to things like internet and various other things. And so radio was basically one of those platforms that was a game changer for us in order for the institution to ensure that the broadcast of parliamentary proceedings could actually be able to reach the rural, remote areas. And so we established, there was this establishment of Parliament Radio, which was expanded during this particular period from 2010 to 2015. And so during this same period, there was also now the new need to establish a Parliament TV channel. And so the scores of what it's been able to achieve is that we established a Parliament TV studio that is currently operational, and now Parliament TV is able to be streamed even online. We have a Facebook page that actually is running Parliament TV. We actually are able to run it on the DSTV platform. We are able to also, that's on satellite TV. We are also able to just run it locally on the different carriers. So what we do is we produce content, we produce everything else, but we just use other carriers in order to carry the signal for the TV. During this period also, we looked at infrastructure development, and so we looked at the upgrade of the data center. Initially, our infrastructure was quite obsolete in terms of the servers that we were using, but we tried to create our own data center. And so right now we have our own local cloud, a private cloud that we would say that we host most of the services that we run for the institution. Then alongside that, because we had actually set up that data center, we also established the data recovery sites. And So in the process of being able to do that in terms of setting up the data recovery site, we also did the re-engineering of the Parliament website. This was to appeal to the needs that we basically required. The other items that we scored within this particular period was that we introduced the electronic pay slips and also electronics order paper. These managed to reduce the cost of printing for the institution. However, in as much as we had actually scored some of these things because the ICT master plan was a bit ambitious, we found that the success rate for this was basically about 26% after evaluation. And this was mainly due to lack of funding and involvement of members of parliament and the members of staff during its formulation. And so when it came to an end in 2015, we actually had to look for funding to try and come up with a new strategic plan, which we found partners. And in 2019, we partnered and decided to come up with a new strategic plan. And the process of developing this new strategic plan was actually to involve members of parliament as well as members of staff from various other departments, bringing them together so that they could actually be able to indicate what they would envision, some of the key areas that they would want to actually have dealt with. And so this one was actually designed now together with the implementation plan. And this is the one that is basically running currently, which is the strategic plan from 2020 to 2024 and its implementation plan. Now, to deal with the issue of how we dealt with most of this digital transformation, that was the digital transformation process that we were undergoing before the advent of COVID-19. But at the point that we were developing the second one, the second strategic plan, which is the one we are currently running with, you might note that we then were faced with the COVID pandemic. So its implementation from 2020 onwards is actually within the period of the COVID pandemic. And in order for us to be able to do that, we had to follow a certain roadmap that initially, the first thing that we were doing was to deal with the planning stage, which was basically trying to engage leadership of the National Assembly to adequately brief them on the available option of technology that was what was available in order for us to continue with business during the COVID pandemic. And this leadership involved the speaker and the clerk as being the major stakeholders of this particular system. So the second step that was there was to establish a technical committee. And this technical committee that was basically established was comprising of various key decision makers, inclusive of the speaker, the clerk, and people from various sections within Parliament, as well as the ICT department, and also members of from the Ministry of Health in order to guide on the health guidelines. After that implementation of setup of this technical team, we now went on to look at the issues of how we were going to support this budget in terms of the new structure of this digital transformation that we're supposed to undertake. And the budgetary support was actually set up because the team was set up to look at how support could come from Treasury, because remember, these some of these activities were not budgeted for in the current year, which was 2020. And so there was some COVID funds that had to be raised. And this is how this implementation now started moving forward. Now, at the implementation stage, the first component of it all was to review the rules of the House that would actually be able to allow the use of the new systems that we were going to set up. And this was at amending some of the standing orders for the institution in order to enable the House to be able to sit in a hybrid kind of setup where some members would actually be able to sit locally and others would be able to sit outside. And so after those rules were revised, we also had to develop the e-chamber together with the video conferencing facilities. So this was a two-stage. The e-chamber was used for plenary management system in terms of being able to assist the members of the House to participate in the proceedings, as well as the presiding officers to be able to deal with how to manage the plenary. And so this is where we basically looked at the mandate given to the ICT department to be able to deal with that. And then we had to now deal with the issues of user tools that needed to be developed. So that after these tools were developed for the users, we now had to deal with much more of training, because setting up of the equipment wasn't necessarily the only thing that needed to be done. Now we needed to train the members of parliament, members of staff, in order for them to effectively and efficiently use these services. And we had to do a lot of training in order for the systems to be accepted. And we kept evaluating the systems that were set up, and also after that evaluation, getting into the production again, some of the feedback that was actually given. So in the process of this thing, we actually had to make sure that members were actually sorry, I think my slide has moved. Just a second, let me just move back to the slide. Okay, so this is basically how the whole process was, and we obviously faced some challenges, and there are some key lessons that we basically learned. And maybe in conclusion from this one, I would say some of the key lessons that we basically learned was that we needed to make sure that we keep the technology simple, so that whatever it is, we would make sure that the technology was basically simple. And then interactions with other parliaments was actually key in this digital transformation process for Parliament of Zambia. So I would like to submit that has been like the brief of how the digital transformation journey has been for the Parliament of Zambia. Thank you.